Tonight, we're going to learn one shtickle, one short piece of a long Maamar, a long discourse of the Balatanya of the Alter Rebbe, published in his Sefer Torah Parshas Sisa. But it's actually at the end of the Sefer Torah. There's Hosafos. There are a few additional Maamarim. This is in the Hosafos, one of the longer discourses of Parshas Sisa. But to appreciate it, we first have to see the Gemara. Let's see the Gemara inside. Sanhedrin, Daf Lamed Ches Amud Beis, the last line. And then Daf Lamed Tes Amud Aleph. I'll quote. The Gemara says as follows. Amar Rabbi Yochanan said, Ki Yavedarish Reb Meir b'Pirkei, when Reb Meir would deliver his public shiurim, his public lectures, Havedarish Tilsa Shmaitza, Tilsa Agadata, Tilsa Masli. 1/3 of his shiur was halacha, 1/3 of his shiur was agada, medrash, homiletics, and 1/3 of his shiur were parables, stories, anecdotes. 1/3 of the shiur were masle, mishalim. V'amar Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Yochanan said, Gimel meyes mishlois shu'alim hayu loyle Reb Meir. Reb Meir had 300 parables only about foxes. 300 of his stories were about shu'alim. V'anu ein lanu ela shalosh. We have left over only 3. From his 300 anecdotes, parables about foxes, we have left only 3. What are those 3? So the Gemara continues, Lamed Tes Amud Aleph. The Reb Meir in his lectures would quote 3 psukim. One pasuk in Yecheskel. Yecheskel Hanavi Perik Yud Ches pasuk Chav says, Avos yoichlu voiser v'shinei habonim tikena. The fathers eat boiser. What's boiser? Boiser is unripe grapes, which are unhealthy, and the children's teeth are blunted, are ruined, are deteriorated. Basically, Yecheskel is talking about the fact, he says, Malachem atem moishlim es hamashal azal admas Yisrael lemer avis yoichlu boiser v'shini abonim sekena. Hashem is criticizing the Jewish people who use this as a parable that children are always suffering for what their parents did. Your father ate unripe grapes and your teeth are ruined. Just because my father decided to eat unhealthy food, that's why I have to suffer. So Hashem says, enough with this mashal. The second pasuk is, this is a pasuk in Kedoshim, Moiznei tzedek, Avnei tzedek, Eifas tzedek, Hin tzedek yilachem. Just balances, just weights, just measurements you should have. The third pasuk, a pasuk in Mishlei, Tzadik mitzara nechlotz vayavoi rasha tachtov. The tzavdik is saved from distress, from atzara, from trouble, and the rasha, the wicked one, comes instead of him, in lieu of the tzaddik. Those are the 3 psukim, and that's the end of the sugya of Gemara. And on these 3 psukim, Reb Meir had 3 parables of the fox out of his 300 parables, and those are the only 3 we have, but the Gemara doesn't specify them. Comes Rashi, and we have a long Rashi, which is actually a long story. Rashi tells us the mashal of Reb Meir, the parable of Reb Meir. See the first Rashi on the page, Lamed Tes Amud Aleph. Zakt Rashi, Avos yoichlu boiser. The fathers have eaten unripe grapes. Mashal who, here is Reb Meir's mashal. Sherima hashuel es hazev. The fox has deceived the wolf. Likones lechatzer haYehudim b'erev Shabbos. Somehow the fox managed to entice the wolf to come into a Jewish courtyard on Friday afternoon. Ulesakin imam tzarchi suda, and help them prepare the Shabbos feast. V'yoichal imayim b'Shabbos. That way the wolf will be able to join the Shabbos meal. You come to offer some help Shabbos afternoon, hang out in the courtyard. You'll schlep in the groceries, you'll set up the table, whatever the wolf wanted to do. In Reb Meir's mashal, he'll get a piece of the cake. He'll get a piece of the challah, of the lokshen kugel, of the soup, of the chicken, whatever it is on Shabbos. Ukeshabali kones, when the wolf actually obeyed the fox and came into the courtyard to help for Shabbos, chibru alav b'maklois. All the Yiddinas there came with sticks, and they drove the wolf away. They sent him flying. Balarigas hashual. So the wolf came to kill the fox who gave him this horrible advice to enter into a Jewish courtyard on Friday, from which he was driven with sticks. Maamar, now the fox is in danger. The fox, as we know, is a willy chevrema. The fox says, no. They didn't strike you because they don't want you to help for Shabbos, because they don't want to give you part of the meal. No, they like you. The reason they gave you malchus, the reason they struck you with sticks is because of your father, Olav Hashalom. Because of your great father, the one who you say Kaddish after. What was your father? One day, your father, the old man, Mr. Wolf, not the young Mr. Wolf, the old Mr. Wolf also went to the courtyard to help them in the meal. And you know what happened? And your father ate up all the good pieces of meat. When it came to the Suda, he ate everything up. So now when you came into the courtyard, they said, oh, here we go again. This wolf is not just helping, he's going to eat everything up. So they drove you out. Amaloi. The wolf tells the fox, I'm being struck because my father ate up the whole meal, I have to suffer. Amaloi. So the fox said, hey, of course. Yecheskel Hanavi said, the fathers eat the unripe grapes, and whose teeth deteriorate? The children's teeth. Your father ate up all the food, and you're suffering. Reb Meir's marshal to explain this pasuk. You're suffering because of your dad. Havel, the fox tells him. So first of all, the fox gained out of the mice. He didn't kill him because it wasn't bad advice. It was good advice. It's just, it's my fault that you had a father who ate unripe grapes. It's not my problem. Havel, you're hungry. You're fart hungry. You know, it's Friday afternoon. There's never a hungry wolf walking around. They drove him out of the courtyard. Was tut man? Aval boyi me, come with me. Verachem mokem lechel v'lizboya. I'll show you a place where you can eat and you can be satiated. So the fox takes him bolei ala be'er. Fox takes him to a well. Ancient times, the days of yore, they didn't have sinks and showers and bathtubs like we have. You wanted water, so usually at the outskirts of a city or in the middle of the city, there was a well where there was a natural spring. And the well was usually often very deep. It was underground. It was extremely deep. So how did you draw the water? So there were pails, right? Pails that were tied, and you would lower the pail and lift up the water. So the fox takes the wolf to the well. Val svasoi mutal eitz. On the edge of the well, on the top edge, what do you have? There's an eitz. There's a beam. There's a beam across the rim of the well. V'hachevel mushkav alav, ub'shnei roshei hachevel shnei deloyim kshurim. There's a beam across the rim of the well, and there's a bucket tied to each. There's a beam at the edge of the well. There's a rope over there, a chevel, and there's a bucket tied to each one of the two ends of the rope. And this lay over the beam. I guess the rope is tied to the beam, so it's fixed in one place. And the two ends of the rope have two buckets suspended from the two ends of the rope, and both buckets can be lowered into the well. Okay? Nichnas hashual bidliya elyer. So what happens? The fox climbs into the upper bucket. V'hichbid. So he created pressure on their upper bucket. V'yorad lemata. So he went down. He went down into the well. So what happened? Udli atachtan Allah. So the other bucket went up. He went down in one dli, and the other one came up. So the wolf asks the fox, Lama tanichnas l'sham. Why did you go into the well? Why did you do this? Sakanas nefashos. Amaloi. The fox says, Hey, yeshkan basar ugvina lechel v'lizboya. You don't understand. In this well, you have abundant meat and cheese. Apparently, he wasn't careful with basar b'chalav. You have abundant meat and cheese. You can eat and be satiated, and you'll be satisfied. V'hera dmus halavana b'mayim k'dmus igul k'min gvina agula. This is probably Friday night, so there's a beautiful moon, and the moon is reflected in the water of the wellspring. So the fox shows the wolf the reflection of the moon in the water, which looks like a cake of cheese, a round cake of cheese. And he's telling the wolf, you see this? This is a cake of cheese, really the reflection of the moon in the water. Oh my Lord. Wolf is now getting hungry. So he tells the fox, Ani heyecheret, how do I get down? It's not fair. You're getting all the cheese. I want the cheese. Amalei. So what does the fox tell him? He kanes ata bidli elyon. Now you climb into the bucket that's on top. You climb into the bucket. So what happens? Nichnas. So he goes into the bucket. Vehichbid. So it's heavy. V'yara, that goes down. Udli shashua lalav Allah. So the bucket in which the fox is now goes up, right? Because both buckets are tied to the ropes like a scale. So this one goes down, this one comes up. So first the shul went down, and the other one came up. Now the ze'ev goes down and the shul comes up. Amalei. The wolf turns to the fox and says, Hey, Chanioila, how do I get out of this mess? Amalei, the fox tells him, I have for you a pasuk in Mishlei. What's the pasuk in Mishlei? Tzadik mitzara nechlotz vayavoy rosha tachtav. The pasuk is that Tzadik got out of the tzara, and the Rasha came instead of him. The Tzadik got out of the well, and the Rasha took my place. You're now in the well. Loikach ksiv moiznei tzedek. Doesn't the pasuk say in Kedoshim that ultimately there's fear balance? There are fear weights. This one goes up and this one goes down, and then this one comes up and the other one goes down. And this is the end of Reb Meir's mashal to explain these psukim. Now everyone, you read this mashal. So just imagine the scene. You have to understand Reb Meir was one of the G'dolei Hador. The Gemara says in Eruvin, Meir eine chachamim b'halacha and lo yochlu chaveirav lamad al soif daito. Reb Meir's ideas were so profound his colleagues couldn't understand it. V'lachein lo yikavu halacha kamoisei, the Gemara says. They couldn't establish the halacha like him, even though they knew his genius head and shoulders above everybody else, because it was too deep, it was too profound. They couldn't grasp it, they couldn't fathom it, and they knew they couldn't grasp it. Reb Meir was a student, one of the great students of Rabbi Akiva, and literally one of the greatest of his generation. So Reb Meir, a third of his lecture is Mishalim. Okay. The Mishalim are there to explain profound ideas. So there's a pasuk here that people are saying that children suffer for their parents' mistakes. I think people say it till today. Right? That's what most therapists hear. So now Reb Meir is telling this pasuk to them. So he said, I'm going to give you a mashal to explain it. So what's the mashal? That a wolf was driven out Erev Shabbos from eating cholent, and the fox blamed it on his father. Old man missed the wolf, and he says the pasuk in Yecheskel. Then he wants to explain a pasuk that is equal weight times the Rasha replaces the tzaddik. So he comes up with this mashal of a well. But Hashkafer is showing at first glance this whole shtickle Gemara and Rashi is quite perplexing. You take a look at the Maharal, Chidushei Agadis Maharal. So the Maharal, who often dissects these homiletical stories in Gemara in his own unique, inimitable, Maharal-like way. All he writes here is, there is some chachma nifla, there is some wondrous wisdom that Reb Meir was trying to convey through this mashal, but he doesn't tell us what the chachma nifla was. So the Marsha, there's a long Marsha. The Marsha struggles to try to understand what exactly the three Mishalim are. At first glance, there's only two Mishalim. One is a story in the courtyard, one is a story in the well. The Marsha struggles with it. He comes up with a whole idea about Olam Hazah, Olam Haba, Tzadikim, Rishayim, and so forth. At the end of a Sisa Maamar of the Baal HaTanya in Torah Oyer, he has a shtickle on this Gemara and on this Rashi. Parshas Sisa explores both the mitzvah of Shabbos as well as the mitzvah of Machzas HaShekel. And this Maamar explores both of them, the mitzvah of Machzas HaShekel, and as an extension also discusses the mitzvah of Shabbos. And the last piece of the Maamar gets into this Gemara. So we copied it, and we're going to learn this shtickle. It's not an easy piece. It's brief, it's concise, and it has what's called oimek lifnimi oimek, layers upon layers upon layers of depth, as is very obvious to even a student who reads it superficially. But Be'ezer Hashem will try at least to try to gain some insight and take out at least a few ideas of what the Alter Rebbe is teaching us in this shtickle. So it's in Torah Oyer. As I said, it's the end of the Maamar about Machzas HaShekel. You see page 224, the left column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines from the bottom. 224, Maamar, 6 lines from the bottom, the left column. The Maamar begins with Lehavin biur hadvarim al pasuk Sisa Machzas HaShekel. It seems like that it was said in the year Tofkuf Samach Gimel, which in the secular calendar would be 1803. 1803. That seems like the year that this Maamar was said, Tofkuf Samach Gimel. Let's see inside. Vihine bekols the Yuvon. With all that has been explained about Machzas HaShekel, why a half a shekel, why not a whole shekel? Generally, the rule in the Mishkan is we try to give wholesome things, wholesome donations. You want every carbon to be wholesome. So why not give a whole shekel? No, you have to give a machzas, dafka, a half a shekel. After the entire explanation of this Maamar, what the significance of machzas is, and explaining the significance of Shabbos, from all this, Yuvan Gamkein, Mishalim de Reb Meir al Posik Tzadik Mitzara Nechlitz Commercial Kasu Begemara Sanhedrin Daf Lametes Amud Aleph Pirish Rashi. This will give us perspective to understand the meaning of the parables of Reb Meir and Sanhedrin Daf Lametes, as Rashi explains. And he abbreviates the Rashi, assuming that the reader knows this Rashi. Sherima Shuel es Hazaev Likonis Lechatzra Yehudim Be'erev Shabbos V'yoichal Imam B'Shabbos Chuli Chibra Alav B'Maklis Chuli Aval Boyi Mi, come with me to stop too. Nichnas Hashul B'Dli Elyon V'Hichbid V'Yared Lamata Udli Atachten Allah Heraloid Musa Levana B'Mayim Nichnas Hazaev B'Dli Elyon V'Hichbid V'Yarad Udli Shashul Alav Allah. Till the last words of Rashi, the fox tells the wolf, who's now situated in the abyss, in the well, Loikach Ksiv Moiznei Tzedek, doesn't it say in Parshas Kedoshim that our weights, our balances should be just and equal and fair? The explanation is as follows. Kisheish Yimei HaMaisa Heim HaKoil Hamshachos Mepchines Vav Ktzaves Al Yoinim. When we talk about the 6 days of the 6 days of the week represent each day a communication, a flow of energy of the Vav Ktzaves, of the 6 upper dimensions, also known as the 6 midos of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Chod, Yisod, which correspond to the 6 dimensions of east, west, south, north, Mizrach, Ma'ariv, Darim, Tzaf, and Maila, up, Mata, down. So there's the Vav, the spiritual energies of the 6 days represent each day one of those Vav Ktsavos, one of those 6 dimensions which come downward. Lahachiyos ha'olam is to give vitality to all the universes, including our world. Of Shabbos, and then Friday comes. Maschilin lalois lamayla. These energies begin to ascend back up to their source. Ubeshabbos utachlis aliyoisam. And on Shabbos is the ultimate. It begins Friday, elevation back to their source. Va'oz loichim sham hashefa v'hachayis lamayla. They go back to rejuvenate with the shefa, with the flow and the energy from above. Ume hashefa zu shalokchu sham mashpiyim acher kach b'chol sheishes yimei ha'maisa yoyim b'yoyim oikum oishakasu v'priyetz chayim. And from the new rejuvenated energy on Shabbos, they could now once again descend and come back and give their hashpah, their flow throughout the 6 days of work, the 6 days of creation, each day, Sunday through Friday, and then the next Friday there's again an aliyah, and after Shabbos again a yerida, as explained in Priyetz Chayim. Priyetz Chayim is a work that was written by Reb Chaim Vital, transcribing the teachings of his Rebbe of the Arizal, who passed away in Tzfas in 1572, Shin Lamed Beis, after his teaching Tzfas 2 years. In Priyetz Chayim there are portals, right? The Shar HaSukkos, the Shar HaShabbos. So Shar HaShabbos, this is explained at length. Let me try to explain in brief what the Alter Rebbe, what the Balatanya said in these few lines, based on what he explained previous in the Maamar and other Maamarim, or at least one nakud of what he's saying. How do we understand the concept of Shabbos? So often we understand Shabbos in a very literal sense. Hashem created the world for 6 days, and then he's entitled to a vacation. So he rested. He stopped creating the world. So therefore, every week we rest. The obvious question is, what does this mean exactly that he rested? He rested from what? He created the world through words. Basarim amaris nivra ha'olam. What's this idea of Hashem resting? Sheishes yomim asa Hashem v'samayim v'sa'aretz v'ayom hashvi shavas v'yinofash. And he relaxed. We understand what it means when a human being. What does it mean concerning Hashem's creation? What also is it that makes Shabbos holy? The way we understand it literally is, okay, Hashem rested, and he wants that there should be that symbol of rest in the world. So we rest, and the day somehow becomes holy. But what makes the day holy? The food of Shabbos is different. The behavior on Shabbos is different. The table on Shabbos is different. Pashat and halacha and nigla. Everything is different. There's a holiness, there's an aura. What does that holiness come from? So he rested, so he relaxed. So we learn, okay, this is what he wants. He rested, he wants we should rest, he wants we should make a day holy. The way Pnimiyus HaTorah, the way Kabbalah and Chassidus explain Shabbos is that there's an internal reality that actually occurs on Shabbos, and as a result of that, you have all the halachas of Shabbos. In other words, it's not Hashem rested, whatever that means. So he says, I want you to rest, and therefore don't do work, and therefore we'll make the day holy. No, there's a certain reality that happens on Shabbos, and all the halachas of Shabbos, the mitzvahs essay, and all the mitzvahs leisa, the whole Masechta Shabbos. And I don't have to tell you how intricate Hilchas Shabbos are, Hilchas Rabsa l'Shabbos, are a result of this reality that happens on Shabbos. What is it? What is this reality? So Bekitzer Nimrit briefly, it works as follows. Now listen in. The Alter Rebbe explains elsewhere as follows. Let's give an example of a human being. If I'm talking for a long time, or somebody's giving a shiur for a long time, and their energy is being projected, their mind, their heart, their voice, their energy, their passion, etc. They're done. They sit down to relax. In Yiddish is an expression, ich darf zurückkommen zu sich. You heard that expression. I have to come back to myself. The same is true if you're loading a truck. The same is true if you're playing basketball. The same is true if you're sweeping your house. The same is true if you're working on a report or you're trying to write up an article or whatever you're involved in, physical, very physical, mental, intellectual, verbal. Your energy is being projected in that work. You're jogging for 2 hours, for an hour, and your energy is coming out. And now you're done. You sit down on a bench. You sit down on a couch. You sit down on a chair. You lay down on the sofa. You relax, and you're reclaiming your energy, so to speak. Ich komm zurück zu sich. That's what relaxation is. Your energy, so to speak, it's been a whole time in an extroverted, projective mode, and now you reclaim it. It returns to you. So you have an artist painting a picture. And a real artist, is working on it for 6.5 hours without an interruption because he's completely entrenched in it. And his entire mental energy is focused on that piece of art. And this is painting or speaking or writing or any form, business, whatever you're involved in. And your total mental mind is focused. And then after those few hours, he takes a break. And his mental energy is now reclaimed by his own identity. It comes back into him. However, in our life, what I have accomplished throughout those 6 hours, or whatever the time, remains independent. The painting that the artist has created remains on the wall. The kitchen that I swept up remains swept. The article I wrote up is typed on the computer. The shiur I said is taped or videoed or listened or heard by people. And I just come back to myself. In Hashem's situation, his words, his energy, is the very stuff of the world. In other words, the product is his energy. Because the world is created, yesh me'ayin. What is essentially the world? It's Hashem's chayis, it's Hashem's divine energy. That is the substance of creation. That is the substance of reality. We create things yesh me'yesh. We take one substance and we develop it into another substance. But he's creating something from nothing, so his words, that is the substance of the reality. So now, when he relaxes, he reclaims his energy. In other words, he was, so to speak, speaking the world. On Shabbos, he's quiet, so he reclaims his energy. So it's not only his energy that comes back with him. What else comes back with him? Everything else comes back with him too. The painting comes back. The ball comes back. The article comes back. The whole reality, the whole product comes back and goes into him. And now it's elevated from God's word into God's thought. On Shabbos, there's a world, but the world is not Hashem's speech. The world is Hashem's thought. Because on Shabbos, what happens? He relaxes. What does it mean he relaxes? It doesn't mean he was working very hard, he was sweating, and he has to sit down on a couch. The idea of Shabbos is, in the words of Kabbalah, aliyas ha'olamus. Aliyas ha'olamus shouldn't be understood as a Chinese term. Aliyas ha'olamus means the worlds are sublimated. What does it mean the worlds are sublimated? When Hashem reclaims his energy, it's not now in a projective mode. It's an introverted mode. So he's not speaking. He's, so to speak, thinking. So his words, which were projected throughout the week, are now coming back into him. The whole world now comes back into him. So the world is now divine thought, not a divine word. What's the difference between words and thoughts? Words leave my domain. Thoughts never leave my domain. When I speak, you hear me, and you can actually misconstrue my words. You can understand me and understand a message exactly opposite of what I'm saying. It happens to me all the time, trust me. It happens to everybody all the time. What you're saying and what people are hearing are usually not the same thing. Ask your wife if you don't believe me. Because that's the definition of words. As much as they are attached to me, they ultimately become disconnected to me. And words have a life of their own, right? We know when it comes to Lashon Hara, when it comes to negative words, they have a complete life of their own. You say a comment, and it travels, whether it's a telephone game or not a telephone game, but it has a complete life of its own to the point that sometimes you can't recognize the original source. It has no similarity. And that's what happens to Hashem's words too. The whole world is really divine energy. But the way we experience it could be completely not appreciating the divinity in the world. Right? We can take an object and completely not see it from the perspective of the speaker. The words from my perspective are not the words from your perspective. I may not even know it's your words. That's also words. It says in Pirkei Avos, if somebody says something over in the name of its original author. He brings redemption to the world. They say there was once a Rav giving a shiur, so he was quoting Rashi, Rambam, Ravid, Rashbi, Ritva, Ramban. Then he's und ich sag, and I say, and he says, you might be asking, where do I come into the picture? He said, because I have to be Omer Davar B'Shem Omrei. I have to say it over in the name of the authors. I have to say, ich sag, I say. Chassidus teaches, what's Pshara Omer Davar B'Shem Omrei Mevi Geula L'Olam? Here, who's the sayer of every Davar? I'm asking you. Who said everything? Davar as thing. Who's this original sayer of everything? Vayomer Elikim Yihiyar. Vayiyar. Vayomer Elikim Yihimoiris. Vayomer Elikim Nasa Adam. Basara Mamoris Nivra Oilam. Bedvar Hashem Shemayim Nasu. Ha'omer Davar B'Shem Omroi. If you identify everything B'Shem Omroi, you see the name of the original sayer, the original speaker. Mevi Geula L'Olam. You liberate the world from the Helam V'Hester. Oilam, the Gemara says in Pesachim, is from the word Helam, from the word conceal. And Mevi Geula, you liberate the world from its concealment. Because speech, by definition, can be distorted on one level or another level. In very profane ways or in very subtle ways. But it leaves my domain. Thoughts can't be distorted. You know why? Because as the Gemara says, also we don't know what other people are thinking. Thoughts are intimate. Do I know what you're thinking now? When is he going to finish? Or I got to go. Is it nice if I get up? Is it not nice? I know what you're thinking. Thank God we don't know what people are thinking. It would make life a little difficult, a little complicated. Unless we could really learn to be at peace with ourselves, and then we could be at peace with others, then we don't mind if our thoughts are exposed. But we still have probably a little way to go to that. So, machshav is a whole different reality. Machshav is intimate. So now, on what happens Shabbos is, Aliyas ha'olam is, the worlds are not God's words. The world is now Hashem's thought. So you say the world is holier on Shabbos. It's not a cliche. It's not a din, it's a reality. The halacha is a result of that reality. Now, you'll say, what do you mean? It's the same world on Shabbos. What are you talking about? And I'll say, of course, when you have been on the marathon and then you sit down on the couch, the leg looks like the same leg. But the internal energy of the leg is in a different place completely. Previously it was projective, now it's internal. Although the physical brute leg looks the same. I mean, there will be some subtle differences perhaps, but not everybody might see it. Shabbos is the same. You look at the world, same sky, the same earth, the same person, but those who are sensitive to energy knows that Shabbos. The mice about the Helik Ruzhiner, Yisrael Ruzhiner, he was a child, and they were learning the Sugya Masechta Shabbos, Daf Samachtes. The Gemara discusses a situation where Hoya-Hoylech b'Midbar, you're walking in the desert, in the wilderness, and you forget which day of the week it is. I don't understand why the guy couldn't take a cell phone, but somehow, according to the Gemara, he didn't take a cell phone, nor did he take an iPhone, nor did he take an iPad, so he doesn't know when Shabbos is. So what happens? So there's a machlokes in Gemara. What do you do, right? Does he count 6 days and then he observes Shabbos? Kibriyasa Shaloilam, or it's like Adam Arish, and he observes Shabbos and then he counts 6 days. The Ruzhiner, Rabbi Ruzhiner was a young child. He was learning this Gemara in Shabbos with his teacher. So he raised his hand. He says, "Ich verstehe nicht. I don't understand." His teacher was a little perplexed. This boy understood things fast. So he explains it to him again. He says, "Ich verstehe nicht. Hoye mahalach b'midbar ve'ini yedei masei Shabbos mishamer yoimecha. Ich verstehe nicht." So he says it again. "Ich verstehe nicht." Again and again, a few times. And he still doesn't understand. So he says, "Was verstehst du nicht? Was verstehst du nicht?" He says, "Ich verstehe nicht." How can there be a question when Shabbos is? He looks up. He looks up at the sky and he sees if it's Shabbos. Ich verstehe nicht. So it's a sensitivity. It's a sensitivity to the internal makeup of the world. There's a Maisa that Tzemach, the Balatanya, had a chassid. He was the Rav of the Russian city called Hamel. His name was Reb Yitzchak Isaac Halevi Epstein. He's known as Reb Isaac Hameler. He was a great Gon, a great Rav, and a great chassid. He was a chassid of the Alter Rebbe, his son the Mittler Rebbe and his grandson the Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek sent Rabbi Eisel Hommeler, the Rav of Hommel, once to the Ruzhiner, to the same Ruzhiner, on a shlichus, on a mission about Russian Jewry. He comes to him, and it happened to be Friday. So he spent Friday afternoon with him, talking about politics of the Tsarist Russian government, the Tsarist Russian government. And during the conversation, Rabbi Isaac is thinking to himself, I don't see the great gap between me and the Ruzhiner. He started to feel a certain camaraderie. He's intelligent, I'm intelligent. He's keen and I'm keen. He was just feeling what's called in Yiddish chaver lap. They were comrades, friends. Close to Shabbos, the Shamish comes in and says, Rebbe, candle lighting will be at this and this time. It was getting close. There was some tzaddikim who had a minhag, I don't know if you know, they would smoke a lulka, pipe, in the morning and in the afternoon. Shachris time and mincha time. It had to do with Ktoiris. It had to do with the Ktoiris. The Ruzhiner used to smoke a pipe, a lulka. So he says it's time to take out the pipe. I guess it's Ktoiris bein harbayim, right? So he takes out the pipe. And Rabbi Isaac was it was surprising to him. It's before Shabbos, Jews are intense, meloif tarum, somebody is screaming, somebody is hollering. You know about the Jewish houses Friday afternoon, I don't have to tell you. Forgot this, you forgot this, and he's smoking about, but he continues the conversation about Russian politics. Shamish comes in, he says, Lichtzender in a few minutes. Okay, he's relaxed. And Rabbi Isaac now is feeling that it's, maybe he heard about the Ruzhin. He was a Yachid B'Doire. He was a Tzaddik Yesod Olam. He wasn't seeing it. A few minutes later, in a very relaxed tone, he puts out the pipe. It's already almost Shabbos. He gets up from his chair. He looks at Rabbi Isaac Hommeler, and he says in Yiddish, Reise Rav from Russia. Wilt kommen mit mir mekabel Shabbos sein? You want to come with me, welcome the Shabbos? I'm going to welcome the Shabbos. And he walks over to the window to welcome Shabbos. And he opens up the window, and he looks out as the sun is setting over the horizon of Friday. And Rabbi Isaac Hommeler, who was one of the greatest Chabad Chassidim, a Gon Olam in Nigle and Kabbalah and Chassidus on Oved Hashem, said over the story, he says, I watched the Ruzhiner looking out the window, that moment of Shkiyas HaChama, and in Yiddish he says, und ich hab gesehen, wie ist aruf la und ich bin geblieben la mata. I saw that he went up high, and I remained right here below. This was the man who as a child didn't understand the Gemara in Shabbos that a person is lost in the Midbar. So this is a sensitivity to energy. Some people are more sensitive, some people are less sensitive. But the reality is that on Shabbos, the world is a different place. It's not there's a din you have to rest. There's a din you need a white tablecloth. There's a din you need good food. The world is a holier place. The whole energy of the world is in a state of shvisa. It's not Hashem's word, it's Hashem's thought. You light the candles, you welcome Shabbos. You're the first one, together with your family, with your house, with your business, with your worries. It now gets absorbed in the Creator. A whole week, it's also part of the Creator, but it's Kivayachal, His word. And now it's His Machshav. This is what Alter Rebbe is saying. The Vav Ktsavos, the 6 Midas. Every day is one of the Midas. You see the words now. Come downwards on Erev Shabbos. They now go up. They go up, right? It's like you're talking, and then you stop talking, and you have to start thinking about what you're going to say next. Words originate from thoughts, or at least we hope so. We hope so, and if not, they should. So the Vav Ktsavos, they come back, they go up to their source, from where they get their whole source, and then once again, after Shabbos, they come down again, and that's the idea of the 6 days of the week. And therefore, it's a different avodah. And according to the Alter Rebbe, all the malachas of Shabbos revolve around this Nakuda. You know, it's hard to understand a lot of the malachas of Shabbos at the surface, right? What does Tosfos say right in the beginning? Yitzias HaShabbos, Haitzah malacha gruyahi. You know, I could schlep a couch all day from my dining room to my kitchen, all day schlep a heavy couch, no problem. I take out a key from my house to the Rishus HaRabbim, it's a chi of skila, it's a chi of chatos. Haitzah malacha gruyahi. Essentially, all the malachas, and these lamates malachas, all the lamates malachas of Shabbos are essentially a violation of the reality of Shabbos. He will soon give an example of one malacha, which is a difficult malacha to understand, the malacha of boirer. Boirer is one of the most serious malachas of Shabbos because it's so common. It's hard to be oiven on other malachas of Shabbos min ha-Torah because usually the Chachamim made enough fences to keep you away. The exception is boirer, as we will soon see. And he explains here the depth of boirer from a spiritual Chassidus point of view, which allows us to understand boirer and halacha l'maisa also, because it results. But this is the foundation about Shabbos. It's clear what he wants to ask. Okay, so let's go weiter. So this starts Friday afternoon, and we'll soon see. Okay, we'll soon see the whole idea of, there's a mitzvah, it says in Shulchan Aruch that Erev Shabbos, to bathe your body in warm water, to shower in warm water, b'chamin. So in Pri Etz Chaim Shara Shabbos, he explains every halacha physically has a shoyrish and ruchnius. What it means, it has to do with this aliyah, as we'll soon see. Achaliyoisam zu b'Shabbos, ho'ay de habirur, shebiriru chuli b'sheishis yemay. But the energy to go up Erev Shabbos and Shabbos is through the birurim. Through, literally, birurim means selections, refinements that it accomplished throughout the 6 days. There's a process known in Kabbalah as shviras hakelim, the breaking of the vessels, which is known, it's beyond tonight's shir, but the point is that before this world, Olam HaTikun, there was another world called Olam HaToyu. Olam HaToyu broke, and all of the kalim, all of its vessels broke. It's called Shviras HaKalim. And 288 divine sparks broke with the breakage of the vessels. All these sparks fell down, and on the debris of that broken world, our world was built. And hence, in our world, there's intense divine sparks from Olam HaToyu that are scattered, and all need to be elevated, all need their tikkun because of this process called Shviras HaKalim, indicated in the pasuk Va'aretz Haisasayu Vavayu V'Ruach Elikim Merachefes. Merachefes is a combination of two words, Reish Pei Ches Meis. The 288 nitzutzes fell down. In Mitzrayim itself, there were 202 sparks that they took out. That's the Pshat V'Gam Erev Rav Allah Itam Rav Reish Beis 202. Left 86 Begematria Elikim. Each spark has sub atomic sparks, and hence there's many sparks. That's why there's 3 lavim, not to go back to Mitzrayim, because in Mitzrayim all the sparks were elevated. So during the 6 days of the week is the avoid of the birurim of elevating these sparks. V'hu mashakos of sheishes yamim tavoid. So Chazal say zepoina lezeisoi, zepoina lekarmoi. 6 days. This one is by his olive tree. This one is by his vineyard. Chuli v'hamechuven al derech avoida. The idea of being in your vineyard or by your olive tree in this business or that business is lahalis hanitzutzes al yidei shemispal b'koyach achila v'noisens daka. Every single person uses his material resources to generate money or to eat, and through the money he can then give tzedakah. Through the eating he has koyach to daven. So now when I take my physical resources and I use it for avodas Hashem, so I'm elevated, I'm identifying the godliness in it. This is the idea of Kol ha'omer davar b'shem omer mei v'gula la'olam. The world is a confused place. This is called avodas habirurim. Birurim is from the word birur, to make clear, to select, to be mevarer. Well, to select what from what? To make sure that the words are not distorted. As we explained, words can be distorted, thoughts can't be distorted. In this world, Hashem's presence can be completely eclipsed and concealed, and the sparks fail to be identified. We don't identify the godliness in the world. But when I take everything I do, and it's used in a wholesome way, what does it mean in a wholesome way? It's used according to its ultimate energy and purpose. I find the divine purpose in it, so that I understand the value of davening. What's davening? Davening is I take my body, and I take my thoughts, and I take my soul, and I connect it to my source, Hashem. And the same is true tzedakah. What's tzedakah? Tzedakah is I take my money, I take my energy, and I share it with somebody else. I do an act of love. These are all practical examples of avodas habirurim. I'm not getting lost in the world, but actually I am refining, revealing the dibur of Hashem. When this happens throughout the week, then the energies go up on Erev Shabbos. That's what he says. V'chol mashen nivrar b'chol. Every spark, every divine energy that has been refined during the week, oilach hakach b'Shabbos. Ki b'Shabbos boider asur. On Shabbos, one of the Lamites Malachas is boider. She b'Shabbos ein b'chinis yedidus k'may b'chol. Sheyordim avav ktsavis levarer berudim. Rak Shabbos hu aliyas ha'olamis lamayla. Shema shenivrar b'choil oila lamayla mayla. Meaning, one of the malachas that's asur on Shabbos is boider. What's boider? Boider was in the Mishkan. What is boider? When they had to grow the herbs to make the dyes. So every herb that grows is mixed in with pebbles and earth, and they had to select, take away the psoilus from the oichel, the waste from the food, the bad from the good. And therefore, it's one of the malachas on Shabbos, the Lamatas malachas is boirer. Every act in which I separate the bad from the good is an act of boirer, which is asur min haTorah. So I'm eating a salad, and I see that you put onions in the salad, and I don't like onions. And the onions are mixed into the salad, and what do? I remove the onions. So that is the isur of boirer. Or in the classic example of the fly that falls into my tea or to my soup, and I take it out, just the fly itself, so that is what? That's the isur of boirer. The only way it would be permissible on Shabbos is if you take the good from the bad, and only when you do it right before you need it, and only if you do it biyad, not bekli, Rosh Tevis, ayil, oichel, yad, la'alter, ayil meshulish, oichel, yad, la'alter, then it's fine, but generally boirer is asur. And boirer is a complicated sugya and a very relevant sugya, because it's not just in food. It's in cutlery, and it's in a chess game, and it's in clothes, and it's even in svarim, right? So boirer is a very relevant, one of the probably the most, and one of the most practical issues on Shabbos happening constantly. What's the idea of boirer? He's explaining here. Boirer represents avodas habirurim, separating the good from the bad from the good. That you don't do on Shabbos. Shabbos, it's a good world. Shabbos, there's no psoilus. That's why physically I'm not allowed to be mevarer psoilus from Eichel. Because spiritually, that's what Shabbos is. During the week, of course I have to do boirer. My whole life is boirer. All of life is selecting. You have to select, you have to identify what's toiv, identify what's not. There's a conversation. This conversation is productive. This conversation is not productive. This will lead me to good places. This will lead me not to good places. Here I open my eyes. Here I close my eyes. Here I say yes. And here I say no. Life is about selecting, identifying, knowing where the nitzutz is, what's Ratzon Hashem, what's not Ratzon Hashem, what's good for my neshama, what's bad for my soul. This food is great, this food is horrible. This is an addiction. This is a disaster. This is a malach hamavis. This is holiness. This will bring me closer to myself, to my God. It's all about boirer. That's what avoid is. Boirer, birur hanitzutzes, to be able to identify the davar b'shem ha'imrai, including elevating all the sparks. That all goes up on Erev Shabbos. All of that all gets uplifted on Erev Shabbos. All the good that has been elevated gets uplifted on Erev Shabbos. And that which can't be elevated, that stays behind. The Tzemach Tzedek has a sefer Derech Mitzvaysecha. In that sefer, he tells a story. And it's very valuable because of the timing. He says, I asked my grandfather a few days before he passed away, in the month of Tevis, Tovkuf Ayin Gimel, 1812, December, in a little town called Piena. I asked my father, what's this idea of eating on Shabbos? Because eating is always a process of boirer. When we eat, the whole process of eating, just take a look at your body, is right away boirer, right? It's the brilliance of the body. You put in a piece of food, and the body has the most brilliant computer program. It scans the piece of food and identifies. It says, okay, this part of the food is going to the Beis HaKisei. This part of the food is going to the liver. This can be converted into blood, which is going to go to the brain. This is going to go to this part. This is going to go to the leg. This has qualities that allow it to be converted into this aspect or that aspect. The body scans it out and right away compartmentalizes it. Boire takes the teichel, the psilis. Unbelievable, that process. Whether it's a piece of potato chips, whether it's a strawberry, a piece of fish, a cookie. The question is what the majority is. Psilis, the majority is eichel. Often the majority is psilis, unfortunately. When you are sensitive to nutrition, you're doing boire. You ever see people in health stores? Every bag they study with magnifying glasses, with calculators, calories, cholesterols. They have complete, of course. It's a whole avoida. What is it? It's all boire. But then there is the spiritual boire when you eat. Same concept. And it's all interdependent. The spiritual boire when I eat is to be able to identify what's the purpose of this food? What's the meaning of the food? I shouldn't be a slave to the food. I don't become a victim of the food, right? On the contrary, I elevate the food. I sublimate the food. I appreciate there's a spiritual energy in the food. There's a spark in the food. And I'm doing it as part of my service to Hashem, as part of my avodas Hashem. That's also boired. So Tzemach Tzedek says, I asked my grandfather, Maamar, a few days before he passed away, what's the eating on Shabbos? So he quoted a pasuk. It says in Mishlei, Tzadik oichel esoiven nafshay v'beten rishoyim techsar. The tzaddik eats for satiation. The stomach of the Rosh is always missing, meaning he's always hungry, because it's not ever about just having what you need. It's always, another cheese Danish. So the Rebbe ties much deeper. There's two types of eating. There's the eating of Shabbos and there's the eating of the weekdays. On Shabbos, you eat differently than in the weekdays. In the weekdays, it's better in Rishayim Techsar. You're trying to take away the spark from the Rishayim. You're trying to make the stomach of the Rishayim become less by taking away the spark. On Shabbos, it's Tzadik Oichel L'Soiv Nafshay. It's to satiate your Nefesh Elikis, your divine soul. So I asked my grandfather, he says, V'sha'alti, Moireinu v'Rabbeinu. I asked my grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, but I don't understand. I'm eating Shabbos, the same food I'm eating all week. It's the same exact food. V'Heshivani, he said, Ze'eno, it's not true. Because Erev Shabbos, there's a process. The process of Erev Shabbos is that the shell, the husks, anything that has the psoilis spiritually goes away. It goes away. So on Shabbos, you're not doing boired in the food. If you know the energy of the food, it's a different level. And that's why it's a mitzvah. Shabbos, it's a mitzvah to eat good food. It's part of Oynik Shabbos. Suddenly it becomes Kedusha. In the middle of the week, we call you a Bal Taiva, Zoylel, a Soiver, a glutton. Suddenly here, it's a mitzvah. He's connecting to God. So if you're sensitive to the energy, you understand it's a different food. It's a different mahalach. It's not a gedder of boired, it's a gedder of aliyah. And it says in Pri Etz Chaim that there's what does the greatest boired? So when you have metals, you put it in a fire, and the fire extracts and separates the psoilus from the oichel, right? The waste, the silver or gold. It removes the, what is it called? The sediments. The Korah Barzel, yeah. So he says that's why it says to bathe b'chamin be'erev Shabbos in hot water, because that's the representative of the spiritual heat, Shabbos, erev Shabbos in the afternoon, which separates the psoilus from the world, from the oichel of the world. So now there's aliyas ha'olemus with all the sparks, and again, this is what's happening internally in the world. V'lachein, okay, v'lachein isa. This is why it says, quite a astonishing Maamar Chazal. Bekushi hitiru ledaber divrei Torah b'Shabbos. You know what that means? Bekushi. Kam. Barely. Don't get too excited. Barely with a matter to speak divrei Torah on Shabbos. Rabbeinu Yoina says this at the end of his Sefer Hayira in the name of Talmud Yerushalmi. Now the Rishonim had parts of Yerushalmi that we don't have, so we don't have a clear Yerushalmi. But it's Rabbi Yoina says it b'shem Yerushalmi. However, it does say in Yerushalmi, Shabbos Perik Tesvav. There's a shitta there that Shabbos is made, and I quote, "Ma'achel u'lemishta," to drink and to eat. However, this shitta says, "Kivon sha'apeh hazeh masriach," since this mouth could start smelling from so much eating and drinking. That's why they're mated to use this mouth also for divrei Torah. And could be this is the source of Rabbeinu Yoina. But he quotes it in this lashon of the Alter Rebbe. What's pshat bekushi divrei Shabbos? Why bekushi yitil divrei Torah b'Shabbos? Speaking words of Torah became a malacha? Tell a regular Jew today, what do you mean? Isn't that what Shabbos is made for, to sit and learn? No, it's not so poshut. They weren't so happy about being medaber divrei Torah b'Shabbos. It's very hard to understand what Shabbos made for. We just explained. The world is created through speech. Shabbos is about silence. Silence is beyond speech. The kvetch is not on Torah. The kvetch is bekushi yitiru l'daber divrei Torah b'Shabbos. Shtika. V'daber dover, but here's v'daber dover, not just diburei choil. V'daber dover is diburei choil. Shalai diburei shel Shabbos, diburei shel choil. Here it's Torah. Shahashtika hi b'chinas bittul b'metzias. When I speak, I'm projecting. My ego is present on some level, right? If I'm completely not present, if I melt away in a larger reality, I'm not speaking. Shtika is bittul b'metzias. K'mo shekasav vayichulu hashamayim on Shabbos loshen klois hanefesh. Vayichulu doesn't only mean he finished, he completed. Vayichulu hashamayim. Vayichulu from the word kilyon. The nefesh goes out. The nefesh yearns. The nefesh, so to speak, expires. V'lachein ha-mitzvah l'shoyder b'Shabbos k'mo shekasav Arizal. Shobchinas klois hanefesh. The mitzvah of Shabbos is nicht zu reden, not to speak. The mitzvah of Shabbos is to sing. Why sing? Singing is a form of klois hanefesh. V'gam bebeis hamikdash, you see, hoye b'Shabbos hashir kofel. The Beis Hamikdash, every morning there was a concert, a symphony that was held by the Lehavin. We learned about it a few weeks ago. Remember the concert by the Lehavin? You had those who played instruments, you had those who sang with their mouth by the carbon tamid. And you see, the Beis Hamikdash, the halacha was more singing. It was a double song. Nira, so the writer says, Nira did it tzayna loimer shayashir b'musav gamkein. Probably what Alter Rebbe meant here is that there was a shir by the tamid, and there was an extra carbon, and there was also the shir. This is what the Mishnah says in Masechta Shabbos. Perik Hey, yeah, Bameh Behei Meyoitza, Yoitzin Basher v'Nimshachin Basher. Gewaldig. The Mishnah says Kol Bali. The Mishnah talks about animals that go out on Shabbos, right? So of course we're allowed to go out with our levushim, with our clothes on Shabbos, because it's derech levush. It's not called carrying. What about animals? Are they allowed to go out with their with the leash? So Kol Bali Hasher in Hebrew, Sher is a leash. It's the rope that you tie around the neck, the collar of the behemoth to be able to lead it. So Kol Bali Hashir, all those that own, they need to have a share, they need to have a collar, right? It's for their benefit, for their protection, for their well-being. Yoitzin Basher, they can go out to Rosh Hashanah with a collar, with a leash. V'nim Shachin Basher, and they can be led with the leash. Halacha l'maisa, there are different qualifications about this, if you own an animal, but that's the principle of the Mishnah. Taichas dal Rebbe shir also means what? A song. Pirush. So Shabbos, Yoitzin Basher. It's not a heter. It's Yoitzin Basher on Shabbos. What's Shabbos? You go out with a song. Pirush. Yoitzin beklois nafsham ad madrege sheyichoylem leilech ba'atzma. You go out of yourself. You go out of your ego. You go out of your trash. You go out of your stress, of your anxiety. You go out. You let your soul liberate itself. Through what? Through song, till the point that you could reach. But then there is Nimshachin Basher. What's Nimshachin Basher? Hu l'mayla mimadregasam shaloi hayu yechoylem leilech ba'atzmam hayu yoyred hamshachem l'mayla l'moshech haysam l'mayla. There is the point of sublimation that I can achieve within myself. What's called human transcendence. A person through avodah, through work, you can go out of yourself. But there's the level of how much I could reach, As high as I jump, I can't jump over my head. You know why I can't jump over my head? Because somehow my head jumps with. So I can jump and climb and climb and climb, but I'm climbing with myself. That's yoitzin basher. Aroizgein von sich, to go out, to transcend your confinements that don't allow you to be one with your source. You liberate yourself, I would say, from the burden of being. You know the burden of being? The greatest burden in life is the burden that you have to be. And on Shabbos, you can liberate yourself from that burden, from that heavy weight of being. You can go into a place of non-presence. Now, there's non-presence that comes from a low place, from a damaging place. When a person feels that they're nothing, they're also not present. But that's a horrible lack of presence. Here we're talking about on the contrary. A person can be very confident and can appreciate their value, but they completely remain stuck within themselves, and they can't appreciate something really beyond themselves. They can't become one with their source. This is yoitzin basher as much as they can. But then there is nimshachin basher. They're led through the song. But a song represents the concept of klois hanefesh. V'zeu l'mayla mebchinas Torah. Ki Torah hu chachma ilah b'chinas tzirufei oisis shashar shamei chachma. Torah is chachma ilah. It's God's chachma, but it's a combination of letters. Torah is made up of letters and words which are rooted in chachma. V'hanigud, what's hanigin? Ubchines habitul belitzi rufei oisis. Of course, you have nigunim with lyrics, but the real nigunim is the nigun itself. There's no letters, there's no words. So what is it? What is it? Ki imrak hamshacha shenimshach lahadavar bebchines bitul utshuka. A nigun is you're drawn to something with a complete yearning and a complete state where you're not burdened by the burden of your own presence, of your own ego, of your own existence. A nigun allows you to cease, to be not present, to become a channel for a higher source. Great artists talk about this experience. They talk about the fact, I once heard from a pianist who said that, I asked him, what is your moment of success? What is the peak moment? And he said, the peak moment is when I'm playing the piano at this great concerto, and I don't know that I'm playing the piano. I'm not there anymore. I'm not playing the piano. In the beginning, I'm sitting down, I practice for 6 months, I'm going to do a great job, I'm going to get a standing ovation for 6 minutes, I'm going to go home with a nice paycheck, I'm going to blow away these people's mind. That's a human being. A mensch is a mensch, right? And you want to be successful, fine, gesundheit. But when he gets into it, what's the hatzlacha? He's not there anymore. He's not consciously there. He's a channel for a higher energy. The same you'll hear from great writers. The same you'll hear from really great speakers, from really great teachers. Any field of art, the peak of hatzlacha is when you're not present. Yoitzin b'sher. Yoitzin b'sher. Because not you're not present because you're a shmata, because you're a nobody. You go above presence. You become a channel for the larger source. You become a conduit for God's energy. And that's a whole different reality. That's where life really begins. That's Shabbos. So the Arizal says, Shabbos sing. And sing without words. We're not talking about a forced song. You're not in the mood. Will force you to sing. It's a spontaneous energy. That's yoitzin. And then there's nimshachin b'sheh. So why were they mater divrei Torah? Afal pikein hitiru l'daber divrei Torah. You know why? Mipnei shegam ashir v'habitul efshel l'eskayim b'li kol. There's no way your song, your melody, your bittul is going to endure just on melody. Because it's transcendental, but it has no kalim, it has no structure to hold on to. This is what the Zohar calls the nekuda in the heichel. What's the nekuda in the heichel? Heichel hu atorah shenikra heichal le'ilah dekuchabrichu. Hashem's chamber. Uba dafke miskayim anekuda shibchinas habit. If you're going to have song without Torah, you'll have that elusive nekuda of bittul without a structure. that will make sure that it's maintained in your life. What this means practically is, there were great people throughout the generations, and America experienced this a few decades ago. Great spiritual people, mystics, and they had very, very great highs. Really great highs. And not all of it was just, was just external substances. Some people reached very deep places. But there was no way to hold on to it. There's no way to maintain it because I can't live in that space. Nadav and Avihu were frustrated by all of this. So you know what they decided? They decided, enough with this tzimtzum. Let's just have Shabbos. The Rachayim says in the beginning of Parshas Acharei Mos, extraordinary words about Nadav and Avihu, which turns their sin into one of the holiest sins in history. That despite the fact that they knew what they're doing, nimnu, milikroiv, yedidus, chavivus, neshikus, neimus, mesikus, the Rachayim's words, they just wanted to kiss Hashem face to face. They were yotzin b'sher, and then they were nimshachin b'sher. But you can't hold on to this, the Alter Rebbe says. The niggin captures this tshuka, this klois hanefesh, the vayichulu hashamayim, that vayichulu hashamayim v'aretz v'chol tzvam vayichal elokim b'yoyim hashvi. The Alter Rebbe says almost the whole Ma'aseh Bereishis has only the name Elokim. Bereishis bar Elokim. Elokim is midas hatzimtzum. Elokim is the restriction from thoughts into words. It's being projected into the world, so it's restricted and therefore concealed. What's Shabbos? Vayichul hashamayim v'aretz vayichal Elokim. Elokim seizes, and that's expressed in the niggin and the shir. So therefore, bekushi yitiril daber divrei Torah b'Shabbos. It's not a time for words, but they knew as mekenish leben afan niggin. Right? You. It's great in an ideal world, but in a practical world, people have bodies, people have structures, people have schedules. You have to create a heichel. You have to create a structure for this nekuda. What's a structure for this nekuda? This is dibur in Torah. But the Torah of Shabbos is what? A Torah that should be able to hold on to this nekuda. What's this nekuda? The nekuda of klois hanefesh. You with me? You toifas din? Now you understood this. Now you understand what Reb Meir said. You remember Reb Meir's mashal? I should vergessen. Now let's go back to the fox and the wolf. And remember that this wolf is very hungry. He's extremely hungry. And the fox is just trying to have a good time with him. V'hinei. And this is the opportunity of Shabbos. Shabbos is not just the cell phone is off, no internet, take off from work, eat some good food, jalapeno herring, etc., etc. Shabbos is a day when there's a tremendous opportunity and an experience to be able to go away from your words into the world of your thoughts, into your intimate world. Because everything is in Hashem's intimate space. So when you welcome in the Shabbos, that's where everything is going to. And that's best captured through song. Kol Bali Hasher Yotzim B'Sher, and then there's Nimshachim B'Sher. There's the song that I can sing, and then there's the song that I can hear. And sometimes I'm incapable of opening myself up to that higher song. It's nimshachin. I go to where I can go, and then sometimes I privilege to hear something beyond me, and that transports me even to a higher place. I think I told you once the Maaseh, yeah? The Alter Rebbe, when he said this Torah the first time, that Kol Bali Asher says Neshamas and Malachim, that every aliyah is through music. So they didn't have blogs at the time, but news traveled pretty fast. So the news came to the city of Shklov. The city of Shklov is in Belarus, Lithuania. Depends who won the war that Wednesday. It changed countries, every few weeks, every few years. But that area, and it was a fortress of great Talmidei Chachamim. After Vilna, where the Gaon lived, the Vilna Gaon, Shklov was a Geval. And there was a tremendous opposition there to Chassidus originally. And the rumor came to Shklo about this Torah of the Alter Rebbe. So naturally, people had what poke fun in Beis Medrash, right? It's a Mishnah in Shabbos talking about an animal that has a leash, and suddenly it turned into Neshamas and Malachim singing songs on Shabbos. Kol Baalei Asher is a heter, and here Kol Baalei Asher that's the avoid of Shabbos. Of course, it's based on the idea that every Mishnah has a spiritual, Kabbalistic interpretation, right? Every chelik of Torah has the nigla part of it and the Kabbalah part of it, the guf and the neshama, and the two complement each other, like with boirer, right? There's boirer in your salad, there's boirer in your fish, there's boirer in your water with your watermelon seeds, there's boirer in your soup, and then there's boirer in the spiritual idea of boirer, and one reflects each other, one reflects the other, but a person needs information for this. So the Hasidim in Shklov they felt very awkward. A little while later, the Alter Rebbe visited Shklov. So the Olam there knew what a gon he was in halacha. They knew, even those who opposed him, and the new movement of Hasidus. So he came to Beis Medrash. They came to him with a lot of questions on him, on his movement, on his shitta. All questions they had. And there were those who were poking fun. So the Alter Rebbe said, instead of speaking to everybody individually, he'll go up to the bimah and he'll speak. They said, okay, went up to the bimah. Everyone came to shul. He gives a clap and he says, Kol Baalei Asher Yotzin B'Shev v'Nim Shachim B'Shev. He says over the whole Torah. Neshamas HaMalachim, every real aliyah is through nigun. And then he started to sing a nigun. Alter Rebbe was a gewaldige menagen, a great composer. You could see from his Dalet Babas, that ya 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 ya. That's his great nigun. But a lot of his nigunim of Inu Malkeinu, was an extraordinary composer and a gewaldige Baal menagen. And he sang a nigun for a while. And one of the biggest go'inim of Shklov, Rabbi Yosef Kolbe, who became a fayedike chassid of his, said that he had 3-4 questions in Shas that nobody could answer. And the nigun opened up his mind, and he suddenly resolved those questions. And everybody in the shul said that as a result of the nigun, their questions were answered. And Chassidim in Shklov used to call it the Matan Torah nigun, because there was a nigun through which they received so much Torah. So here we have a shtickle havana in the story. There's the pchin of yoitzin, and there's the pchin of nimshachin. Yoitzin is what you can achieve on your own. And Nimshachin is that which is given to you from a revelation from above, which you can't achieve on your own. And this is what Shabbos says. So now, the wolf, throughout Tanakh, and throughout Torah Sheba'al Peh, is a mashal for klippus. What's klippus? Klippus are the shells, the husks, that eclipse the divine word, the divine energy, from which we have to do boider. That's what boider is. Remove the substance from the husk, or remove the husk from the substance. That's the wolf. And the shayim. The fox, we know from many places, the fox is the pikeach shebechayis. You know how foxes work. They have unbelievably developed senses. They're very shrewd, they're very clever, they're very wise. Right? Rabbi Akiva's famous mashal, he calls the shul the pikeach shebechayis, the wisest of animals, the most clever of animals. So the shul in its spiritual source represents chachma. So he says, "V'zeu sherima shul hazaev likonis lechatzar Yehudim b'erev Shabbos." So the shul comes to the wolf and says, "Come into the courtyard of the Jews erev Shabbos." What happens erev Shabbos? We remember. What happens erev Shabbos? Erev Shabbos, there's a gewaldige boider done in the whole world. There's boider. It's not just in your kitchen. There's a boider. Your wife is trying to clean up, or you're trying to clean up. You know the Maisa. Not every man is so helpful in the kitchen. You guys, I know, are very good husbands. You're helpful, but not everybody is so helpful. So there was one, and some Jewish men, they like hanging out erev Shabbos in the kitchen and eating everything, and they blame it on Toyameh, Chaim Zachu, and they eat everything. There's almost nothing left for Shabbos because they come home hungry and they smell the food and they don't stop eating. So there was once a guy, he comes into the kitchen, it's Friday afternoon, and he's just standing and looking and watching. So his wife says, "Was tust du? Was tust du?" He says, "I'm here to help you, my dear. I want to help you. I want to help you. I know it's a stressful Shabbos." She says, "You want to help me? Leave the house. You want to help me? Get out of the house. He leaves the house, and he goes to shul for an hour and a half. He sits in shul, he learns his shiurim, whatever he does. Comes back after an hour and a half. He's back in the kitchen looking at the kugel. His wife says, what now? He says, Vifel is Ashir helfen. How long do you want me to help you? I already helped you for an hour and a half, right? So that's what's happening in every house. There's some form of boirer going on, whether it's boirer between the food and your husband, or boirer between one thing and another thing, but there's also boirer going on in the whole world. What's going on? The klipa, the unredeemable husk is being removed, so that everything else can be sublimated in its source. That's why on Shabbos there's no boirer. That's why Shabbos, the world, is a holy place. So now the wolf is invited by the fox, come in. What's going to happen? Sha'klipa oila gamkin be'erev Shabbos kedei lishol parnasasa k'may sha'kedusha oila. Just like all the kedusha goes up erev Shabbos to get its parnasa. Which parnasa? Their livelihood from Hashem, its flow. So the wolf also comes up. Sha'achar shegamru vav k'tzavas de kedusha lalois. After the 6 dimensions of kedusha that have been flowing downward through the 6 days of the week, now they're finished going up, and that's the idea of the mikveh erev Shabbos. The idea of bathing in hot water erev Shabbos is the fire that separates the klipa from the kedusha, and the kedusha is now going up. Shehem shoyder samach riboy neshamas. The 6 tzavos, the 6 dimensions are the source for 600,000 souls. That's why the number is 6. As we say in Parshas Tetzaveh, Shisha Mishmoisam, right? You have the 6 names of the Shvatim on this one, on the straps of the ephod. So you had 2 gems, Avnei Shoyham. So you had 6 names on one gem, on one stone, 6 names on the other. So the kvetch is Shisha. Shishim riboy neshamas, from these vav ktzavis. Ultimately, the souls are rooted in these 6 dimensions. Hinehi ba achareim lakachas gam hi chelka. So she, the wolf, the klippa says, you know what? I also want my part. You're getting all your food on Shabbos. You're getting all your stuff on Shabbos. I want my energy. So this wolf keeps on coming up every Erev Shabbos, because it hears from the fox that this is the time to go upwards and get a flow of energy. And klipa, you have to have a klal. Klipa is always thirsty for energy. Why? You know why? Because what's the source of all energy? What's the source of all life? What's the source of all life? Hashem. Klipa is that which conceals Hashem. So naturally it only has a tiny little energy that Hashem allows it to have to do its job. But it never has intimate energy. It never has enthusiastic energy. It never has ba'ur pnei melech chayim. You know, it's like you're married and you never see the one you're in a relationship with. It's terrible. It's like it's existing. It's always dying. It's always dying for energy. That's why it always wants to get what's called a yenika from kedusha. It's always trying to get something from holiness. That's how you can understand all the halachas of tumma and tara. You ever learned well the halachas of tumma and tara? What's going on over there? Things become tumma celebetic and freilach. A human corpse, the levels of tumma, what happens with oil and maga and masa, and then kalim and godim, how much a person uses it. It's hilchas kalim, the whole seder taras and mishnayos. It's all a process of what's tumma. Tumma is essentially wherever there was a great potential for holy energy that wasn't realized. That's what creates tumma. Tumma doesn't come from something stam. Tumma is always something that had a great potential for divine energy, right? And then there's a concept of tumma when it's not realized. So the wolf, every Erev Shabbos, runs to get this, runs into the courtyard. And then the Jews come out with sticks. What happens now? So va'oz nimshach melmaila shalhuva the isha umoyred es harala mata mata. You take a stick, trach trach trach. A fire emerges, a flam fire emerges Friday afternoon in the Hesa mikvahs, in the hot showers. It's fascinating, the Kabbalah and the halacha here. Halacha, it says it's a mitzvah erev Shabbos to bathe yourself in chamin. And don't know if it means the mikveh has to be 120 degrees like they have in some places. But bechamin, smoke, shalhuvadesh, what is it? It's a reflection of what happens spiritually. A fire comes out and the fire extracts the psoilus of the silver and the gold from the oichel. That's what happens. Shalhuvadesh, or moide de sarala mata mata, so that the toif can go up and there's no boided anymore. Boided is before Shabbos, not on Shabbos. You don't do boided on Shabbos. Shabbos is no birurim. Shabbos is all kedusha. They came to this wolf with sticks and they drove it away. That's what happens Erev Shabbos. After Chatzos. After Chatzos. Priyetz Chaim brings Arizal was makbid. He would do Shnayim Mikra ve'echa Targum Erev Shabbos after Chatzos, because that's part of this. Shnayim Mikra is Torah Shebeksav. Targum is what? Targum is a foreign language, Aramaic, right? So by reading Echa Targum, you're extracting the sparks of Kedusha from the Psoilus, because it's not Lashon Kodesh. It's an Aramaic language authored by Onkelos, who was a Roman, who was a nephew of the Roman Caesar and converted and then wrote a Targum in the foreign language. That's the Biru you're separating. That's all Erev Shabbos. So that's why it was Makbid Shnai Mikra Echet Targum. Dafke Erev Shabbos. This is the Priyetz Chaim he quoted before. Shara Shabbos Peri Gimel. And there he speaks about the fire. It's a whole arichas there in Priyetz Chaim about this great fire. It's rooted in Zoyar Parshas Vayakel. On the Pasuk, Lo Sevaru Eish B'chol Moshvei Seichem B'Yom HaShabbos. Why don't you light a fire on Shabbos? Because every fire creates boiler. And Shabbos, there's no Eish. The Gehenim is closed on Shabbos, and Bezdin is not allowed to punish on Shabbos. Bezdin closes on Shabbos. Because Lo Sevaru Eish, there's no dinim, there's no punishments, there's no negative energy coming from Kedusha. Because the Toiv is sublimated in its source, where it's Kulei Toiv, that's why there's no boiler. So that's why you drive away the wolf with sticks, but the wolf is still starving. So now the wolf has a new eitzah. This is the second part of the mashal. So let's see now the next shtickle. It's like the Chelum Maisa, you know, right? With the moon, yeah? They didn't have a moon for Kiddush Levana, so they put out a shomer, a guard, and they said when you see the moon, have a barrel of water. The moon will be reflected in the wall. You'll cover the barrel, and we'll trap the moon. Unfortunately, in the morning, they came, they opened the barrel, and the moon was gone, and they're still searching for the Ganav who stole the moon. This poor wolf ended up without a moon and without cheese. What's pshat in the Maisa? Says the Alter Rebbe, Ki hine ksiv lasis es HaShabbos. The Lashon in Pasuk is lasis es HaShabbos. I mean, lasis to make Shabbos. So the pshat is, the Gemara says in Avodah Zarah, Misha Torah be'erev Shabbos yechol b'Shabbos. Only the person who exerts himself before Shabbos has what to eat Shabbos. What is the meaning? Literally, it means if you don't cook, you don't have food. If you don't go shopping, you don't have food. He teaches al pi chasidus v'hainu shemitchila tzorech leided levarer birurim kol vav yemei hamayis. I can't have Shabbos if I don't have Erev Shabbos. And Erev Shabbos is not Shabbos. Erev Shabbos is Torah Erev Shabbos. Meaning I have to fight throughout the week. I have to do birurim throughout the week. I have to go down into a nitty-gritty world. And then from that I have Shabbos. In other words, what is Shabbos? How do I experience Shabbos? I experience Shabbos by struggling throughout the week of separating the toy from the ra, and then all the sparks go up, and that becomes my Shabbos. Everybody's Shabbos is a different Shabbos. Alter Rebbe says elsewhere that in order to have Shabbos, you have to have Shabbos every day. Look at the Torah Bahar, I think. You have to have Shabbos every day. What's Shabbos every day? Davening. And from all the davenings throughout the week, if you davened, you have a Shabbos. In other words, if I davened on Sunday, I davened on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as I should daven. So from the 6 davenings, which was the mini Shabbos throughout the week, now I have a Shabbos. Here he's bringing out another point, a similar point, and that is, from my birurim, I elevate the sparks. Which sparks? The sparks of Kedusha, that are completely entrenched in the world, and throughout life I'm doing boirer. But if I struggle with that, all those sparks go up on Erev Shabbos, and those are mine. I own them, so to speak. That becomes my Shabbos. But if I wasn't Torah Erev Shabbos, All Shabbat, all week I was lazy spiritually and morally, and now Friday evening comes, and I want to know why I'm not inspired, why I couldn't care less that it's Shabbos, why all I'm thinking about is going to sleep at 8:30 and making sure there's no guest, and getting over the 4 Dvar Torahs so I could jump into bed. What happened to my Shabbos? I'm not interested. I'm not interested. What happened to it? There's no Misha Torah Berev Shabbos. There's no Misha Torah Berev Shabbos. So, it's through the Birurim that I gain my Shabbos. V'zeu inyan hamashal mehabe'er. And this is the well. A well is deep down. It's very deep. And you can drown there, chas v'shalom. You remember the well in the Ukraine. Today we don't see wells. You remember in the Yezhin, the well, I was a few weeks ago in the Yezhin, in the Ukraine. We went to Beis HaChaim there where the Mittler Rebbe is. So outside of the cemetery, there's a well that's still used. You take a look, but that's how they get their water over there. It's very, very deep. There's a big bucket. You bend over a little too much, Chalila, you can end up with this, with Mr. Wolf ended up. You know, the whole story with Rivka was by a well, right? Yaakov and Rachel by a well, Moshe and Sipporah by a well. The wells played a very significant role in Shidduchim and a significant role in life. What does this Be'er represent? Zog the Alter Rebbe, Al Sfasei Mutal Eitz. On the rim there's a beam. Hachevel Mushkav Olav. There's a rope on the beam. Ubeshnei Roshei Hachevel Shnei Dloyim Kshurim. Remember, we have 2 buckets tied to the 2 ends of the rope. Nichnas Hashul B'dli Elyon V'hichbid V'yared Lamato Udli Atachtan. The whole story. The fox goes down. He says, "I see the moon. It's really cheese." He invites the wolf. The wolf goes down. The fox comes up, and that's the end of the Maisa. The Musa Lavona B'Mayim. What's this moon? Pirush. The Musa Lavona B'Mayim. Hainu. B'chines Shem Ban. Shenofa Lamata B'Shviris HaKelim. B'chines Mayim Tachtoinim. V'tzorich Levared HaBirurim Ola HaLoisam. B'chines Mayim Nukvin. Be'er Mayim Chayim. Whoa. Here we have a whole other sugya. I know it's late. I'm going to say it B'Kitzer Nimratz. We have the sun and we have the moon. The difference between the sun and the moon is the moon doesn't have light of its own. The moon reflects the light of the sun. So the sun is like the mashpia and the moon is the makabel. The moon is also very vulnerable. From our perception, the moon waxes, the moon wanes. The sun represents stability. The sun is always here with its full light. I mean, we may have clouds that eclipse it, but as far as the sun, you remove the clouds and the sun is there. With the moon, it's not so pashat. It waxes, and then on the 15th day, it becomes complete, and then it starts decreasing and waning, and then it disappears for a few days completely, and then it's reborn. So the moon represents the volatile, vulnerable, fluctuating spirit of that creature which doesn't have its own light. It reflects somebody else's light, although it has a glow all its own. The Levana also has in it 2 letters, Beis Nun, which Kabbalistically represent what's known as Shem Ban, versus the moon, which represents Shem, versus the sun, which represents Shem Ma. Basically, there's 4 ways of writing out the letters Yud, and then Hey, and then Vav, and then Hey. Fully, if you write it out, Yud, Vav, Dalet, Hey, Aleph, Vav, Hey, Aleph, you'll end up with the number 45. Yud is 20, and Vav is 13, and Hey is 6, and Vav is 13, right? And then you have another Hey is 6. Altogether, it's 45. If you write it out fully, again, Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey is 26, Chavav. But if you write out the letters fully, it's Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. However, you could write it in 4 different ways, because Hey could be spelled Hey Aleph, Hey can be spelled Hey Hey, Hey can be spelled Hey Yud, Vav can be spelled Vav Aleph, Vav, Yud, Vav. And hence in Kabbalah you'll have 4 types of Hashem's name. Shem Ma, Shem Ban, Shem Sag, Shem Av. 45, 52, 63, 72. It's all 4 configurations of how you write out Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. Ma, 45, is the gematria of Adam. Aleph, Dalet, Mem is 45. Ban, 52, is gematria of Behema. Beis, Hey, Mem, Hey is 52. Generally, it represents the sun and the moon. Shem Ma and Shem Ban. Shem Ma is the flow from above, the mashpia, and Shem Ban is the makabel. The wolf is being showed the image of the moon in the water. Really, he's told it's not the moon. What is it? It's cheesecake, or kugel, or cholent, or whatever the fox told him. Sushi, that's what he told him. Rashi says it was a cake of cheese. Really, what was it? It was the moon in the water. So the Zayd thinks it's food. It's his food. He's coming to grab it. Really, it's the moon in the water. What do we do with this? So the Rebbe reveals here the secret of this marshal of Rabbi, and the Nakuda is the moon. Remember, what does the Gemara say in Masechta Chulin? Hashem calls the sun and the moon Shnei Ma'oris Hagdolim, right? Two great luminaries. What happened? The moon started to complain, two kings can't use the same crown. So Hashem said, go diminish yourself. So the moon becomes small. Haviyu alai kapara shemei atatiyas hayareach. Every Rosh Chodesh, you have to bring a carbon for Hashem, kevayachal, for minimizing the sin to the moon. Really? Hashem sins? You bring a kapara? In the Soyer of Rosh Chodesh it says, La Hashem chatas? Really? He sins? Isn't the definition of a sin violating God's will? If he wants to do it, so it's not a sin. And then it says, La'asid lave, when Mashiach comes, V'haya oir halavana kair hacham. So really what this means is, the Levana represents the way Hashem's light during the 6 days of the week comes into the world and is absorbed by the world. And it represents the human being in the world. And here, there's the avodah of boirer. What is the avodah of boirer? We don't realize how holy we are. We don't realize how godly we are. We minimize ourselves. We feel small. We feel detached. We feel uninspired. We feel ungodly. The moon waxes and wanes. Sometimes it's complete. Sometimes it's depressed. It's really a reflection of the sun. And it's really one with the sun. But from our perception, to make our avodah meaningful, we go through the struggles of the moon, which is really always in a relationship with the sun. But from its perspective and from our perspective, we go through a lot of aliyos and yeridos that make us believe we're small and we're detached and we're undivine. And this is the avodah of the person down here below. And that's the be'er. That's the pit that is very, very low. But as we will soon see, it becomes the most fresh water in the world. Because rainwater, ocean water, rivers, streams, canals are all great water, but there's nothing as cold, as clean, as refreshing as spring water, which is called Mayim Chayim. So the Alter Rebbe says in Torah, told us why? Because it fights through the earth. It has to work through the earth. And that crystallizes the water. It has a freshness that no other water has. Rainwater comes from above, Amachaya. Spring water, you have to work through the earth. That represents the avodah of the person. The moon, Mishatorach Berev Shabbos. And the crystallizing effect of that is something unique. That's the Be'er Mayim Chaim. Now another term in Kabbalah. Every word here is another concept. So I'm just trying to just give little synopsises of the ideas. In Kabbalah is a famous concept called Mad and Man. It's a Rosh Tevis. Mad is Mayin Dechurin, masculine waters. Man is Mayin Nukvin, feminine waters. Physically, it represents the flow that comes from the male and the flow that comes from the female. Spiritually, it represents Isarusa de La'ela, the flow from above, and Isarusa de La'sata, the arousal from below, from the feminine, from the moon versus the sun. Mad and Man. The Be'er, Mayim Chayim, which comes from the earth, that's the Man, that's the Mayin Nukvin. So you have the moon reflected in the water. That represents the avodah of the human being who's like a moon, who's receiving the light from the sun, and who always feels small. And Hashem says, I have to atone for myself because I'm ultimately the one who made you feel detached. Until one day when we'll see that the moon is really, it's just another side of the sun. It's not really detached from the sun. It's just the way the sun is reflected on earth. But that's the whole journey of Avodah. But the wolf is klippus. The wolf looks at the moon and the wolf says, this is food. This is food for me. This I'm going to consume. The wolf fails to realize that every struggle is essentially divine energy disguised, waiting for a person to do boirer. The wolf says, this is my world, this is an unholy world, this is a world of klippa. He fails to see every struggle as divine energy in disguise, giving the person an opportunity for boirer, for finding Hashem there. And this is the story. So he says, D'mus halavana b'mayim einu b'chinas shem ban, shenafal lamata b'shviras hakelim. The moon fell down low with the breaking of the vessels. B'chinas mayim tachtoinim. Here's another concept. Do you remember what happened on the Monday of creation? Hashem created a firmament in the water, separating mayim above Rakia, mayim below Rakia. There's mayim alyoinim, mayim tachtoinim. So it says in Zoyar, mayim tachtoinim boichen. The lower waters cry, why were we separated from the king? The lower waters represents, water is the source of pleasure, the pleasures of below. The higher waters represent spiritual pleasures. Before Monday, there were one. There was one source of pleasure. Now there's two sources of pleasure. The moon represents mayim tachtoinim, v'tzarech levared habirudim ulahaloisam. We have to now sift out the divine from that which eclipses the divine, elevate the water, b'bchinas mayin nukvin, the feminine waters coming up, be'er mayim chayim. V'allah zu ayde yiridas shema levarer ban. What helps us to elevate these waters? It's Shema, it's the sun coming down to engender and inspire ban. As the Alter Rebbe puts it elsewhere, in a physical relationship, you have often that the male needs to inspire what the Rambam and Chazal call chibuk. The Mittler Rebbe writes this. He writes a Hanocha, a transcript of this Maamar, printed in another Sefer, Tovkov Samach Gimel, and he says that often it's the responsibility and halacha and the privilege of the male to inspire his spouse through chibuk, through nishuk, through different things, that this is spiritually the idea of ma coming into ban and inspiring it, and then ban elevates itself, sublimates itself, and engenders a whole new flow of inspiration even in its husband, even in ma. So he says that's what happens. Shema has to come down into ban. V'zeu amashal mishnei deloyim. That's why you have two buckets. Shaydei sheyarad ashul b'dliya elyon v'hichbid v'yarad lamato. The fox comes down in the bucket on top, and now the bucket goes down. Hu mashal yiridas shema lamata. This is a metaphor for the shul. The shul represents chachma. Shema is chachma, gematria adam, coming down in order to inspire mayin nukvin, those that are below. So by the fox going down, lirida shema lamata levader, to help elevate the earth. Ayideza oilad liatachta lamata. This helps the lower bucket to now rise, to come up. Erev Shabbos it goes up. Hainu halas hanitzutzim the banch and his baradru va'olam l'mayla. To bring out all the sparks of ban to go up. And basically the wolf doesn't get it. The wolf doesn't see it as the moon. The wolf sees it as food. So the fox now goes down to help the bucket from below to come back up. And now the wolf sees this opportunity. The wolf sees the world not as a place of birurim. The wolf sees the world as a place of klippa, because it's two perspectives on life. You could see your life as a place of klippa. You could see your life as a place of birurim. It's two different perspectives. The wolf says, I want a piece of the cheese. I want a piece of the meat. I want a piece of the meat. So the fox says, okay, get into the other bucket, the bucket that came up. Come down, go down. And he goes down, and as he goes down, in his going down to fetch the food, what happens? They go up once again. In other words, here again, the very actions of the wolf engender and inspire a new elevation from the Mayim Tachtoinim. Just like the fox came down and inspired an elevation, when the wolf goes down, it once again inspires a new boider, an elevation, and the sun comes back to its source. The moon comes back to its source. On Shabbos, there's this elevation. He explained earlier, that's Machzis HaShekel. Shekel also comes from the word Mishkol, which is a scale. So he says there's Machzis HaShekel. There's two halves of the scale. There is Hashem's flow that comes downward. That's like the first bucket going down to give a flow in the world. Shem Ma inspiring Shem Ban, Isarusa de Leila inspiring Isarusa de Lasata. And as a result of that, the other machzis, the other half, goes up. That's the Isarusa de Lasata, the arousal from below, that the Jewish people come upwards. And that process, that's before Shabbos, and then on Shabbos, Shabbos is Momata Lamaila. It starts Erev Shabbos. So the first attempt of the wolf is Erev Shabbos, and then it gets driven away with sticks. And then the second attempt of the wolf is, you know what, it's not happening Friday afternoon, but I'll go down to the pit, and in the pit I'll be successful. And this is really the story of history. The story of what Rabbi is really describing is that really the story of history is this game between the fox and the wolf, where really the wolf is determined to trying to take control of the situation. So first it's going to run in Friday afternoon to the houses. It's not going to be successful in the house. It's going to go into the pit. And over there it will be able to steal the food. Just like its father stole the food. All the way back from the beginning of Eitz Hadas. What was the Eitz Hadas? The Gemara says Eitz Hadas was a geffen. The Gemara in Brachas, it was a vine tree. And the Medrash says that Adam was supposed to take the grape and squeeze it and use the wine for Kiddush. But he didn't. He had to wait. If he would have waited 3 hours, it would have been Shabbos, and he would have taken the grape, squeezed it, and made Kiddush. The problem was he did it 3 hours too early. In other words, he ate unripe grapes. It wasn't ripe yet. The Alshich, the Shach writes, the Sif Sekoyin in Parshas Kedoshim, the reason for Arla, we wait 3 years till we eat the fruits, is to be Masak in the Chet Eitz Hadas, because he didn't wait 3 hours to eat the grape to make Kiddush. So from that day when he ate the unripe grapes, it started a whole avodah of Birurim. That's what I think the connection to unripe grapes is. That's what I think. Very good. Very good. Say it good. So what happens is, he said the Gemara also brings a shitta that the Eitz Hadas chita hoisa. It was wheat, so maybe he made Kiddush on challah. There's also a shitta that it was an esrog. So, but the point here is, so the wolf is busy with its agenda. It's going to go into the pit. Avodas habirurim, but it's no birurim. It's going to take all the food for itself. In other words, everything is going to go to klippa. But ultimately, what happens again and again and again is that the Jewish soul identifies the truth, and the Jewish soul knows that it's simply a reflection of the moon in the water, and it's part of the process of sublimating the moon, of sublimating the feminine waters. That every journey, every fluctuating component in a person's life, our instincts, our moods, our challenges, our nisyonos, our addictions, all of our issues are part of the moon's journey to make peace with its source, to come back to its source. And when it comes back to its source, then it becomes a Be'er Mayim Chaim, it becomes the most refreshing water, and ultimately the tzaddik comes out of the Be'er, and the Ze'ev, the Klippas, remain in the abyss. And he finishes v'yuvon zal derech shenizbay bebir arayim ehemna de machzes hashekel. It's a whole other shtickle based on the whole zoyer about machzes hashekel, which has to do with this concept as well.
Eloi